I'm Aaron Jackson, and I'm the sports editor at the East Carolinian.
I'm Ty Gavin, the copy editor.
I'm Chase Carroll, sports chief.
I'm Rob Romero, baseball reporter.
I'm Daniel Roberts, baseball reporter.
This is TECsperts.
Welcome back to another week of Baseball TECsperts. This weekend, the Pirates opened AAC conference play against the University of Central Florida Knights, and we'll touch on the Maryland series last week. Today, we have both baseball writers with us, Robert and Daniel. So let's start with the home series sweep of Maryland last week. ECU defeated Maryland 4-0 in the first and third game, and then smacked them in the second game 18-4. Is ECU the best team in the AAC right now?
I'll let the two people who watch the team every game start.
To me, it's very tough to go because the UCF has obviously been great, but I'm going to say yes, they are. They have the best ERA in the conference right now. They're third in batting average, and one thing they just have is that they have a chip on the shoulder. I don't think all these teams in this conference have. They have when they play, they have a fire to them. They have a sense of urgency every time they take it one pitch at a time. They play every moment of the game at that next pitch, and they play with such a sense of urgency every time. And I think that's going to be such a huge thing of going forward in the season, especially to start conference play. It's just a big matchup this weekend against UCF, but from what they show against Maryland, I think they are the best team in the conference.
Benton and Hoba have been flawless all season long. Benton has been able to get the team off to a great start in the series, and usually the first game in the weekend series on Friday does kind of depict where the momentum is going into Saturday and Sunday. UCF has proven to be close with the Pirates, but I say ECU is favored.
I think as students at East Carolina University, we want to hop on board and say that this is finally the team that's going to represent our school and be the top of the conference, but I'm not ready to say that they're the best team in the American yet. There's teams like Houston and UCF who proved it last year that they can do it, and they can do it in every game when ECU went 7-17 in conference play. So maybe if this weekend they go down to Orlando and they manhandle the Knights like the Knights have handle teams like Virginia and Florida, then maybe we can deem them the best team. Before conference play starts, I think it's hard to determine who's going to be the best.
Mm-hmm. Which game in that Maryland series accurately told you what the Pirate team should look like for the rest of the season?
To me, it was both of their shutout victories, 4-0 in Game 1 and Game 3, is because it's just testament to how great the pitching's been. I mean, like, Ben and Hoba have just had phenomenal starts to the season, and their bullpen with Tyler Smith and Ryan Ross has just been locked down. I mean, they just do their thing once they get on the mound, and their defense too. They always talk about how well their defense is behind, how comfortable they feel on the mound, knowing they have a defense behind them like Brickhouse, Lloyd, and Connor Litton. So those two games to me decide, because like 18-4, I mean, it's great, but like same time you're not going to score 18 runs every game, none less double-digit scoring. But at the same time, those two shutout victories were.
I think you hit on a huge point that's going to play well for the Pirates is Ryan Ross. He had a tough first outing to start the season, but in this series he pitches in both shutout. He closes both games. Cliff Godwin never needed to go to a pitcher after him. He threw 5 2/3 inning, only let up 1 hit, struck out 8, no runs, no walks. I mean, he was locked down, but if we want to talk about Game 2, I know the 18 runs is kind of realistic, but when the Pirates walk 13 times and only strike out once, I think that's huge for their lineup. Their lineup kind of struggled against Elon and VCU the week prior, so for them to wake up like that in Game 2 and put up those 18 runs is just phenomenal.
First and third games definitely dictated, showed what the team is all about. The bullpen has been flawless. The 18 runs, the team has been inconsistent with getting on base, and they are lacking in the home run department, which kind of shows that UCF might defeat ECU in that department this weekend. But Benton and Tyler Smith, Ross, like they said, has been flawless. Coach went to him twice in the past weekend series, and he closed out both very well. So the bullpen in those two games really demonstrated what ECU is all about.
This week, UNC Wilmington was supposed to host the Pirates, but the game was canceled due to bad weather. In any way, does this affect the Pirates team not having to play this game on the road?
I want to start here because I think that it won't, but I think that it could really help Jake Agnos a lot. I think he gets to miss a start that he probably doesn't even want to make as a weekday starter. He knows he should be a weekend starter. He came into the season as the number 2 starter on the team. He's seen this pitching staff pitch lights out. He wants to get back into that weekend rotation. I think for him to miss a start, now he might not get to start again. I think that's only adds fuel to his fire.
I definitely agree with that point. I mean, obviously Ben Hobart going to expect to start this weekend, but who knows if he wants to maybe go with Agnos to see how well he can do against a team like that, against like UCF, and this will affect them. I think it'll be good for the team knowing that they can more prepare for UCF. And talking to Coach Godwin, the team is still going to take it one day at a time, and during this week they're add some live pitching against batters. Keep them fresh and make sure they'll keep self-complacent with the longer days of rest. So I think this will be helpful for them this weekend.
ECU will be in Orlando, Florida this weekend, ready for the first pitch tomorrow, but will the Pirates be able to pick up these tough wins on the road?
They have what it takes to pick up the win. I say it's going to come down to the bullpen because both ECU and UCF will go to the best pitchers they have to start off the series. But I think because Benton and the Hoba and the whole ECU bullpen will know what is expected of them, the type of pressure that UCF can bring based off of defeating Florida, who's number 1 in the nation at the time. Like, they will know what they need to do to help ECU or put ECU in the best situation to possibly win.
Which players on the UCF roster will pose a threat to ECU?
Well, I mean, we look at the lineup of Ryland Thomas, who's batting over 450 on the season. That's like an insane number. And one thing as a team that UCF has that's going to be really problem for the Pirates is their speed. They have over 21 extra stolen bases than anybody else in the conference, and they attempt more than any other team. And you also have UCF leading the conference in home runs, and with Ryland with 7 and Tyler Osick with 5. I mean, those are 2 guys who have more home runs than the leading home run on ECU, which is Brickhouse with 4. So they have a very dangerous combination of batters that it's going to be a huge problem for ECU, which is why I have UCF winning the series 2-1.
Robert touched on the hitters. On the pitching aspect, you have 2 starters like ECU has in Trey and Chris Holba. They have J.J. Montgomery and Chris Williams, who have been their 1-2 punch. They're combined 6-0, both of them pitching to under a 2 ERA. I think they're really going to pose a huge threat to the ECU lineup. I mean, UCF has only surrendered 10 home runs to the 23 that they've hit, and ECU really hasn't gotten off to all those home runs yet this season. I expect a lot of balls to be kept in play. I expect a lot of singles and doubles, and ECU trying to string together hits to get these runs. I don't think that the pitchers should lock down ECU too much. I think that the Pirates should be able to put together enough runs to squeak by.
Yeah, looking at UCF's roster, Garrett Westberg has an ERA of a 75. And he has struck out 17 batters, has only walked 6, only committed 1 error. That looks like they cause a problem for ECU depending on where the score stands late into the game. Because if it's close, the bullpen can make the difference if one doesn't allow hits and the other does.
In UCF's last 2 games, the Knights had a total of 8 hits against Florida State University. What must ECU do to replicate that action?
I think Robert touched on it earlier about how comfortable the pitchers are with their fielders behind them. I think that if ECU pitches to contact, that they should be okay, that the field has done such a fantastic job making the plays that they should make, that there won't be any extra errors. If you don't go out there trying to strike out everybody, then you pitch to contact, and they can get those outs that they really need.
There's a difference between being a team competitor on your pitcher, and that's not just always trying to go for the strikeout, but going for the weak contact. So that would definitely be good of the pitchers still being comfortable out on the mound against UCF, because they're probably going to go against the most talented lineup that they've been across all season. So they're going to really have to be at their best and be as smart as they can going against these batters of who's going to be the power hitter, who's the guys you don't want to get on base, who could potentially steal the runs. So if they it'll be interesting to see how they do that.
ECU's had 3 pitchers that have been performing well this year: Trey Benton, Tyler Smith, and Chris Hoba. Out of the 3 pitchers, who do you need to be at their best this weekend?
Definitely, that's a very tough question, but I would say Trey Benton, because Trey Benton has a fastball to him that I think is a little bit better than Chris Hope. I think he has such more like firepower with his, and like he's a guy that Godwin has said is not as fired up as Chris Hope does, but once he does, he gets in a zone that's like that can't be matched by anybody, especially on this team. So for Hope obviously has to be his best because we can make an argument he's had a little better season than Trey so far, but Trey I think is the better stuff, and when he gets going, I think he's the guy to look out for, and Chris Hope as well. So those 2 guys are going to be key.
One of the biggest things for Trey is he's going to be the Friday starter. He's going to be the first pitcher that UCF sees in this series. He has the opportunity to set the tempo. But I disagree. I think it's Tyler Smith who has the biggest task, because he might not even be the Sunday starter. But if he gets the chance to, he's already 3-0 in his starts. He's pitching to a .39 ERA. He stepped into Jake Agnos' weekend role and has flourished in it. He stepped in a few times last season and struggled, but this year he's been electric. If he's going to have to pitch against the UCF staff on a Sunday game, maybe with the series in the balance, I think that's a huge task for a young guy who doesn't have a lot of starts.
My opinion, I'm going to have to disagree with both of y'all. I'm going to have to go with Chris Hoba because he has been put in positions where he has had to either close out the series or decide the series. I believe Benton will do his job on Friday, get ECU off to a good start, possibly help the Pirates take game 1. But depending on where Hoba starts, he is 5-0 in all of his starts this year. So I think he will have the biggest task, because especially if he closes out on Sunday. I mean, at Carolina, Chris Hoba closed out on Sunday and won. They blew him out 12-0. And then turned it around and helped ECU smack Maryland 18-4. I think Hoba will have the biggest pressure on him.
An interesting stat to put out, when Chris Hoba's pitched the last game of the series, the Pirates are outscored opponents 46-5. So even with Hoba on the mound, it just seems like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but it just shows that when he's on, the lineup's on.
The lineup's on.
On to predictions, starting with Daniel. What do you have this weekend?
My prediction, I believe ECU will defeat UCF 2-1. I don't see the ECU bullpen, especially Benton and Hoba, I don't see them blowing 2 games in the series, or either one of them blowing a game in the series, just because they will see the type of pressure that UCF can bring. But both pitchers have proven to be able to take on some of the nation's best. And I believe ECU can hit the road, especially with the last series matchup against UCF on the road. They won all 3 games back in 2016. I think they can turn that around, especially with the way the team has played this year, and do the exact same thing, at least go 2-1.
Robert?
Well, I think the big key thing that we're talking about the Stars is going to be their bullpen as too. I mean, we don't know if Tyler Smith is going to start, but he's obviously going to have a huge role in this series coming off the bullpen. That's what his job is, as well as Ryan Ross, Davis Kirkpatrick, Austin Covers, Matt Bridges, Sam Lanier. I mean, they're all going to have huge roles in this team, because it's going to have to be a complete effort, just like Godwin has said all season, of just from all the bullpen, the batters, starting rotation. They all have to be at their A game if they're going to come out of the series.
And you said you have ECU?
I have UCF as 2-1 because I think that UCF has played better competition, is more prepared, and this would be ECU's toughest opponent this year on the road in Orlando. And I just think, it's not that I think they can't compete with them, I just think it might be a little bit too much in this series, and that's why I have UCF 1-1.
And Tyler?
So I'm with Daniel here. I got ECU winning the series 2-1. I think this is one of the best matchups that you can ask for in early American Athletic Conference play. This is 2 powerhouses. I think that Coach Godwin and ECU has had this date circled on their calendar since the conference championship ended last year. They went 7-17 in conference play last year, and there's been no bigger motivation for the 1 pitch at a time. It's because of how poorly they played in conference play. They were always looking forward to Omaha. I think right here they go down to Orlando, they put their flag in the ground, they say that this is our conference. we have a chance to take this over. I think Godwin is aggressive on the base pass. He's going to send them because he knows how aggressive UCF is. I think the pitchers play a huge role in this series. The talent on both teams is very even, so I think it's going to come down to the mindset, and I think that ECU knows that this is where they have to start their season.
I have UCF winning the series 2-1. I think ECU will slip early, but not in the first game. I have ECU taking the first game Friday, but they will fall Saturday and Sunday. FSU beat down UCF in the weekday clashes, and I think they will not continue this losing streak going on into the next week. That's it for TECsperts this week. See you later.